claim the United States after substantial reduces its military presence in the Republic of Turkey. Advantage one is Russia, Turkish, Russian news comes Russian South first strikes that causes rapid escalation in all-out wartime. 16 during war tension peace, it is likely to use fighter and its sole grew out temporary time is most modifying. Nuclear fighter during crisis in Moscow entities near 21st side US Navy. The China British name all could use this launch a missile to reach Minnesota American decision to forward deploy to a people aircraft could be interpreted as a precursor to first strikes. Physically pick up and drop postures are worse for deterrence and Russian preemption that's unique to Turkey style. 16 B61 base building after the big I drop out to the across Turkey to first strike. I'm going to turn mesh in the West supposed to explore an case for Turkey station. Is aircraft Turkey to certify responsible by the US security bomb the US normal stations are winning Turkey. The risk is high now. Ukraine and detain Russian early warning. Construction makes accidental escalation likely. Shipler 22 couldn't have outside nuclear Russian since they're default but here it's captain the cats on the sea but lucky we're high intention leaders. Administrating decision ambiguity is for helmet one nation based service and red such as the against Russians. Line out we can launch they have terrible and dangerous tactical first strikes are the greatest military bursts in causing war pride. In 20 Russian doctrine puts emphasis on striking first Moscow possible on IC them stop response attack. Independently Russia spies on F-35s and it's early they cause cyber attacks. Run for 19 Turkey is one of the F-35s they check place their probably looking behind NATO since it will be integrated ATS one of the title dates videos and almost malware with brackets data back to Russia. Cyber attacks and F-35s get nuclear lane. 21 dependencies lead to cyber war F-35 capable of nuclear ensure that immediately depends on continuous sovereign gas for nuclear global system P delivering airplane and economic which release make recover of its world for critical global extensions the control system that operate undetected. Russia war causes the extinction con there. 17 before between US and Russia after that could be much worse. It made it possible to go free all the possible between US and Russia. 9% weapons that region of war and likely fleet extinction. The plan solves removal ships weapons out of Turkey into Europe that preserves deterrence and compensates Turkey with conventional weapons but prevents nuclear war. 16. To make nuclear bombs foreseeable weapons should be relocated to space small line called during NATO. Because work Russian presence parts 4 basically missile weapons and plans weapons remain in Europe resulting in greater stability. Advantage to security scenario 1 is terror. Turkey would steal the nukes and give them to Hamas. 1122. Everyone called Israel terrorist and described Hamas resisted by the pro-Hamas 186 months and so many AKBs and Islam fighters are in Arab 11 NATO all during the coup. Everyone the power to so prohibited public place to take off the nukes should be in a strong level to allow Turkey to split this. Lack of security independently causes ISIS resurgence. Bracket 20. The threat from agents and terrorists was the biggest link was holding trading the force and so weapons to raise the length of the arsenal degrees of and control should increase. Concern Turkey reverse engineers the nukes of shotgun. In 20 bucks been under concentration pursued digital security Turkey gets the tanks of the axis. Our Turkish engineers without valuable information on news. Our both night defense is overly optimistic. Only the plan establishes nuclear security rooted. In 20, everyone inside 18 Americans regularly dates sold to the coup. Everyone states kind of village pursued base. Everyone's on the first hostage. Turkey's national state wants to distract my Russian personnel plan for evacuation of nukes and sold to the Jihadi areas. Use cannot afford to gradually would call with data trees and actually take off the overnight average while the next presence. And so like terror causes nuclear war and extinction. Brass 19 news responsible to the border association responsible for the government. Tries to respond to conservation space combat associated with the US reaction but just saying nuclear conflict could see that involve every university that would to be transpecies because last month the atmosphere but spacing facilities of nuclear device or the attack plan hotspot. Scenario 2 is revisionism. Turkish revisionism is an exercise without a liberal order. Erdogan's expansion policy will destabilize the Mediterranean and make war inevitable to the Yars 12-7. Erdogan consists towards authoritarianism, internal dynamics, environment, inflation, technology, learn, headquarters, security, tactical justice, and strategic goals. Erdogan's vision applies to counter Western North democracy and peace. This vision positive civilizational context, security, counter liberal order, advanced by Russia, and embrace the EU, continue to see collaboration, temporary by design, making control and discharge. The region fears the balance of state potential crisis and instability. Collapse of the US-Turkey alliance is inevitable. Turkey is already pursuing security agreements with Russia and enabling extremism. Amendment 1.5. Under Erdogan, relation minister of conflict is no longer an ally who's ever China, Russia to bridges. As part of enabling extremist forces, zero Russia, expressing partners, some Americans as hostages refuse to sanction he doesn't feel support for Hamas Friday with officers going past with these procure funds. Turkey's charm offensive doesn't change its revisionist and Shaki 21 Turkey ministers intoxicated by revisions when they were winged by with the aspiration to reversal sanctions Israel and Israel attempting efficiency through the position with the responsibility fresh by the worst of the world by nations waters would not be spied after by this level Erdogan returns to attacking Europe. The plan is key. Erdogan uses the military presence as a bargaining chip, emboldening Russia, cost at 23 remind everyone else can be pushed to far suburban time course with the standards for less place. With Erdogan's face they found this message Russia uses crypto Western involves company which might Turkey members and expense will so love use less support than recently parental posture Turkish Chinese which is suspending use operation pursue cooperation on so including there's nothing for culture can away from cooperation Philippines Iceland Prime Minister Minister of Russia based and so unambiguous US pressure is necessary. Turkey weaponizes US inaction and inducements to expand into West Asia leads us in 20. Equivalent approach is Erdogan is not going to adopt a harsh measure US not going to fight sense where Turkey sends messages it is not going to tolerate the even Mediterranean wall encourage Turkey to revisions plans of power which impulse with no consequences that Turkey's not a monster they will direct participation in the treaty as long as it is really strong rival and possibility for crisis go Turkey always have a revisionist agenda as they see does not for Turkish culture but consider weakness on the temper decisiveness that draws in NATO, France, Israel and Egypt escalates to Tsakos and 20 is Turkey's policy in Africa Erdogan targets the in the Mediterranean Black Sea Turkey's at odds with allies Erdogan is using relations with NATO tools defense extensions moving to the boxes of that combination leads to blockade of Istanbul besides Libya NATO's images targets that combination cooperation between Turkey, Greece, France, or NATO, Egypt is still no longer unthinkable. Israel drawn goes nuclear. Farley 20. Origins of the Israeli nuclear problem, the fear that states would develop military advantage. Question Israel will continue to balance it down into secret scenarios. Involves the hostile wishing Israel will help make research response that shift in negative direction. Equals in part of the toolkit. Egypt conflict draws in great powers. Heat 19. Robert switch from Egypt after all 30 cities on the Atlantic is reached without trying to turn the Gulf war between both class alliances that was a conflict Djibouti. Conscious of the great powers of the class of the side to US, China, Russia, Japan, France, and Italy secured bases increased competition and conflict framing. The standard is maximized and expendable being exchange outweighs going to death burns. 17. And it's good for people to resist station would have people that some people die painful to ensure that's if we lost the only form. I will have a lot of things fast repression out of Apple and some of these people there it's painful premature deaths that great various psychological defense and so on this the window means that and that your project will end with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The terrorism scenario, what terrorist groups acquire nuclear weapons?
Hamas or ISIS.
How does Turkey steal nukes from Incirlik?
Erdogan could stage a coup, cut off electricity to the base, prevent communications outside of it, as well as kind of arrest soldiers regarding the base. Those soldiers
When you see evidence concludes that the bombs in their current state are not operational, why does giving inoperational nukes to terrorist organizations cause nuclear war?
Well, the reason the bombs aren't operational is because the U.S. has to fly in because they're guarded from Turkey.
If two nuclear superpowers cannot use the nuclear weapons,
well, because the
what
Nishadi
means-
Amendment says Turkey will be able to reverse engineer the nukes to disable.
how does Turkey
things
reverse
that are
engineer the nukes?
Because they have engineers in the area. If they were able to get their hands on U.S. nuclear weapons, they would be able to rebuild them and make them more effective as well as able to be.
So they reverse engineer the nukes and then give them to terrorists.
Yeah.
Why would they give them to terrorists that can use them against Turkey?
Because they won't. Turkey has historically supported Hamas, said that Hamas are resistance fighters, and that Israel is a terrorist state.
The cyber attacks, what are cyber attacks on F-35, like what do they look like?
They look like, so there's malware on the S-400 which Russia gave to Turkey. Our evidence says that that S-400 would be able to track waveforms of F-35s in the area.
Who's cyber attacks? Who's cyber attacks?
US F-35s.
Where does the Lin 21 evidence make the claim that Russia cyber attacks F-35s?
The card before says that Russia cyber attacks F-35s.
Where does it say that?
Quote, NATO systems would be integrated into the S-400, opens up tactical data to be compromised. Malware or Russians work.
How is tactical data, how is
Russia.
how is compromising tactical data about equipment conducive to cyber attacking and controlling F-35s?
Because that tactical data, the Lin evidence says, would be able to, quote, exploit nuclear delivery systems.
Okay, the first strikes, or the Prize 20 evidence, where does this evidence make the claim that Russia would first strike the United States?
Well, we made a bunch of reasons why Russia would, because they miscalculate and perceive that the B-61s are being picked up in times of war. The fact that the B-61s...
Wait, if the affirmative results in U.S. intervening in the region to get rid of bombs at Incirlik, why does that mean that leaving the bombs there would trigger miscalculation?
Well, the problem is that leaving the bombs triggers miscalculation because anytime we send a fighter jet into the region, Russia thinks that we're picking up the bombs.
But to get the bombs out of the region, the U.S. would need to intervene and send jets to go pick them up.
Well, okay, I mean, I think the plan durably gets to fiat that the nukes get reduced back to the
Wait,
U.S.
so you get to fiat that,
The
yeah.
process does not have to
The
require
plan,
flying to
or the
Russia
affirmative
or
can
flying
fiat
over
that the
Russia.
nukes get taken out, but how do you avoid, like, there is miscalculation that comes
Because
with
our scenario is
United
that
States.
jets flying over Turkey into, like, near Russian airspace, that would not happen if we
How does
sent
the
in, like,
affirmative resolve
tanks to
U.S.
pick the bombs.
military movements out, like, post-plan, U.S. just flying jets in Russian airspace?
Post-plan, there are no nuclear weapons there, so Russia would not perceive it as a nuclear attack, so they would not nuclear.
That's not my question. My question is, how does post-plan the United States, like, end just routine military procedure?
That's not our argument. Our argument is that the only reason those are destabilizing is because we have nukes right next to Moscow in Turkey.
The
That is
Bracken
destabilizing, and if the
20
plan reduces those nukes, it's
The
not.
Bracken 20 evidence, that's fine. I'll send it. It's going to be 5 the case. Order on cases, just top down. It's done.
Wait, how many else? Sorry.
5.
Mark, what is the fact that still Five then case top down, you said?
Yes.
This is already so much better.
Let me know when you guys are ready.
I'm good.
I want you to anyone not read? First off, interpretation of the reduction based in true to Article 17, Article based in deployment of these force compromised military personnel and violation of the removal of nuclear weapons, but one particular limits broad definitions like interpreting integrity along limitless access to country to cover weapons and operation weapons, nuclear forces extra people which active in flanks out of the place of deck engagement and influence negative property and independent reason about negative. Really 14 with definition of military personnel, they are bases to put true set in their forms the uses present series so include warplanes also wherever it uses UAVs, all the countries for one military essentially the entire world, and 2 ground, yes, military control because are the core topic of literature discussed use overseas present the content permanent basing range 94, permanent presence permanent American ability, basically significant close relationship between use involved should the aggression take place, use credibility and interest in state and paradigm. Should 1 doctor we should advocacy that are 2 competing interest reasonably invest research judge measures the body possible arguments 3 versus better way necessary to better data 4 education better way schools fund no RBI would remain here next off. Allyship is strong use of professors for requirements of themselves which are rigorous and full weight. What's the reserve foreign policy where the US partisan equality allies with each other close alliances, even more robust, using huge Beijing, losing competence and good news to the use of both and all robust alliance. So, the US is a powerful situation has been affected, even our alliances are robust as well, we prove such a relative alliance and good questions you will be working on, and the adverse ally competence and that's legitimacy in the line, Church 21. No, the Russian Republic Middle East called Republic Carter, interest of the leaders place access for segregation, no redeployment, I argue defending the regime production use power, no matter how to describe the social policy, immediately organize the use control with colleagues to relation with policy, remain the ignore critical military building, have the strength turns to mobility, culture, greater alliance, suppress every present diplomacy, possible, political military, security, principal trade up, Israel think, Britain feels one find to use counter around thinker power, or regional, more regional president, no way to present use taking risk, no way to do 17 partnership, and US military business terrorist conflict of first alliance solves external risk, 20, no alliance of parties, UK advantage, no peace criticism, space for e-commerce allies, should the reduce, when you allies guarding everything, other freedom, working with allies, just China, allies, returning aggression, maintaining stability, more needed, very critically important use leadership allies, taking the US and branded and accountable with armed Canadians, majority US principle, the constitution, and message of political conflict, tells us the action, etc., which all troops and years ago is president wondering these can be counted on, and you only use primacy, risk great power called multiple revisions and brackets will cause nuclear events in all 19. Your government is also security level sharper problem have proposed over the region about time to the use order contract of our representative who's great power with leading power reaching a Moscow to go for Russian calls or also to these nuclear weapons for the great pressure Russia as far as be true and also Moscow playing these Chinese invasion much bolder trade military versus playing invasion pressure power there so to the Indian application is being and actually also to US leadership market US leadership and next off Russia and China are expanding capabilities now continue president can maintaining America as well as 23 22 and you think returns to partnership with allies and participants in depending against China's intent and capabilities to use it. Russia not put the same loyalty threats and put a more urgent charge for 21 example of operational to integrate discharge. It was used from whole Ukraine church force 80 1,000 Jews and allies defended church robust security systems, new country nations power and key investment various incarceration warfighters retaining combatant edge and Turkey's base are key to check back against Russia TRT 19. Turkey's biggest army NATO helped alliance supporting the southern Romania is perceived that from Russia to like areas close to the Black Sea Caspian Sea Asia movement where fall the moves of Russia one of the centers of Russian large military because at least 50 BC from nuclear weapons and significant war to NATO and by the ways in around the region are necessary for deterring Russia maintaining Turkey alliance. Jones 19 use Turkey relation to the lowest like areas and civil use Turkey cooperate one of the most important reasons shows Turkey continues to support NATO weapons will and deter service safety efforts from running Russian police how you like a possible be a trust problem that relative and interval except overreaction to Turkey partner you're going to take advantage of any use for so like well the Turks would take Russian missiles like we're going to be putting Turkey's not on the defense anymore and deterrence is key to check back against adversarial abuse the plan unleashes a power show that escalates competing rough 19 but at least the location to use communications by between Europe and Asia directly distributed to Suez Canal smart market allies for power and access to region energy research ability government said that the current balance of power severe consequences how disrupted Turkish Iraqi Iranian Syrian politics with the second interstate conflict which on if reduced into version of the Mediterranean Iran but of course and bully allies long-term regional will cross-based explosion attempted nuclear breakout and reliable US President Saudi and news really crucial Turner Russian Chinese paper guarantees to give President the hegemonic power in the region outside of the US and next up the United States should initiate a series of Russia reduce escalation with the Russian Federation the Islamic Republic of Iran and all relevant regional sense and force the use of nuclear weapons against the Russian Federation People's Republic of China and create a suite of arms control crisis mechanisms including Holland joint military and diplomatic measures and permanently station use in Soviet areas prevents escalation solves the scenario their evidence concludes and no first use cap scenario no way to see parts of Iran or Russia would attack first and voice linked to assurances there's no project portion from current US foreign policy and next off interpretation debaters must specify branches of the federal government the AC plan to execute the fairness education any other green light after strategies kills like strategy undermines class we lose access to cross counterbalance politics which are crucial complex cross club paradigm from T the case page 1 nuclear security no interlinking stickers from 20 sites astronomical hydrogen without a rank miscounted on the Russian judgment all-time highs Ukraine invasion 2 cannot solve nuclear non-military affairs removing the ground does not permit weapons station time taking explicitly prescribed for relocating weapons different countries which is not a consequence of the affirmative 3 no highlighting words in science just as a pick up and drop procedure found out that they prompt Russian first strike to hold the line of 1 year spin 4 the only the force miscalculation because withdrawal of nuclear force requires U.S. intervention. The one-year denial system that no solvency is a logical consequence of the plan. A series of massive all-cause proofs. The affirmative solves spontaneous calculation for strict doctrine applies just as handily. This is about 23. Direction of fighters swords are to use force with security frequency, creating numerous agility calculation for force upon series. While militaries we use time force to entire militaries and rocket forces. Violent with the security fighters bombers to full of Russian intensive aggressive behavior and cyber attack is the collateral damage and inertial welcome reciprocal use in empirical was quantitative proofs independently cyber attack can't fire anywhere as cause escalation. If perception alone is enough to trigger combat, that means movements out over Russian airspace anywhere else trigger the impact. Article 16. Cyber combat not change type C operates not the revolution military orbital and degrees collateral replication to the train use cyber capabilities more code cyber capabilities and miscalculations leading scholarship like measure caution intervening actors basic human knowledge solves. Shake 23 what technology such as falsified warband miscalc. There's been no accidental wars nuclear configured attack operational level so they limited action control over the loading events from automatic escalation in terms of leader miscalc is not what it appears to happen in Berlin, Cuba, US and Soviet Union resettlements or conceded North Korea or conceded and Russia. The Russia posture advantage 1 no internal evidence of the stationing news generally is about 2 no impact evidence about NATO nuclear weapons that exist outside of the affirmative essence and all causes here's solvency because it proves that nuclear weapons exist posed out of their control 3 no 0 solvency there no evidence says that or no nuclear capable force in the status quo. Turkey does not have usable weapons to escalate a war. They cannot reverse engineer will get to that below no internal and capable 11 2 says Erdogan supports Hamas nowhere in this card have they made it claim that Erdogan gives the nukes to them. The Russians already moved the nukes to Belarus. Here's the advantage proves the reunification doesn't spark global war with Russia and NATO burst. 23 Russian transfer the nukes to Belarus and delivered to Russia to remain under Putin's control and 0 nuclear acquisition and possible terrorists can't equalize and nuclear bombs to Muller 23. Here's a little problem too much for those sorts of weapons you discovered those needed the bomb would be exploded on targets and one of particular rank still version difficult and he left some 1 to 3 there are no loose nukes North Korea no loose nukes and no approach Turkey neither has the means to willingness to get nukes into 19 because not producing nukes also likes to make infrastructure build on even decides to no only nuclear to being developed as the Iraqi nuclear but the Iraqi accumulates in Turkey proceed all they know how to build their reactor neither which is likely to build out the means to produce nukes Moscow holding and car and the Iraqi production nuclear capable Turkey North Korea nuclear capable Turkey and US cooperation is possible. They're not prohibitions collapse inevitable for the isn't inevitable for the time being they tolerate one another. Chad 22 and correspondency neither type nor imperialism no evidence Erdogan exporting a third chamber to the US Turkey not the lone of appears to be Erdogan and control nationalism foreign policy done from multilateral without delay NATO accession treaty no opposition for Ankara. Also not docked but I'm good for sex.
Okay, status of the counterplan.
Condo.
UK planks.
No.
Topicality, your evidence says that military presence is bases. It does not say the word troops. In Sorlik is a base.
It says permanent military presence. You've also made the claim in the plan text that you remove things like nuclear forces.
Wait, yeah, I'm confused. Where does this DoD card say the word troops once?
It's
like what?
I think that the Mirnik 94 evidence also makes the claim about permanent military presence, which is half of the interpretation.
Yeah,
also,
Sorlik is a permanent military base that we have.
Yeah, but you're not removing presence from the base. You're removing nuclear forces.
Yeah, nuclear forces on the military base.
I think that the onus is on the affirmative to prove. Yeah, I think that the onus is on the affirmative to prove that would include
the allyship DA. You have not read a link to Turkey. Your Wechsler card is about the perception of withdrawal. Why didn't
it's not about the.
Why didn't you didn't let me ask the question? Why didn't pass withdrawals from Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria? No.
Yeah, 2 things. 1, that's uniqueness for the negative. B, we've.
Okay.
2.
The first line of the Wechsler card is quote, no, the U.S. should not withdraw from the Middle East. We withdrew.
Yeah, we've made claims about why the affirmative would necessarily require something, or would necessarily require reorientation of U.S. foreign policy in the region. That is enough to signal to allies that the U.S. is not reliable.
If it's a perception-based link, I'm confused as to what the distinction is between removing from Turkey and removing from all those places.
Yeah, so Brisbane 12.8 is our uniqueness argument that makes the claim that criticism of foreign policy in the status quo.
If we were able to rebound from those withdrawals, why can't we just rebound from Turkey?
Because the affirmative has made claims that Interlink impacts foreign policy globally. B, we agree and say also that Turkey's bases are key to.
The impact card is about military primacy. Your internal link is about soft power and alliances. How are those two?
Warmouth 20 is also about things like interoperability, the ability to engage in things like hard power projection. Branson et al. 19 makes the claim that great power competition is necessarily bad. We would say that allied assurance prevents that.
The I guess the Russia-China DA. The Jones card says that they're key to deterring Russia. This first line of the card says that U.S.-Turkey relations are at the lowest and are close to collapse. Why doesn't that seem to not unique?
That's uniqueness for the negative. We would say that doing the affirmative would destroy to U.S. or rather doing.
This card is just citing a bunch of quotes from this one Turkish ambassador who obviously has an incentive to say things to make the U.S. keep the nukes. Why is that a credible?
Well, I think that quotation is a small part of the piece of evidence. We made claims in this evidence about why.
Wait, are you sure? There's 5 quotations.
Yeah, I think that the onus is on the affirmative to establish why that's a problem. A. B. You have to still interact with the warrants in the card, which are specifically about why bases in and around the region deter Russia, even if the affirmative makes.
The Cropsy card about adversarial ambitions. This card lists like other adversaries like China who are also counterbalancing. Why doesn't that make the DA inevitable?
I don't know why that would make the dissent inevitable. We've made
only
claims.
read a link about Russia.
We've made claims about why deterrence checks those ambitions. So if it's the case that China is proliferating or decides to proliferate, the U.S.
Says that Turkish deterrence prevents Chinese revisionism. So it seems like that's inevitable.
What evidence are you referring to?
I'll start with. Okay, start from 137. There should be a sign. The order is case, which is the second advantage, then the first advantage. T bases, A spec, the advantage counter plan, the allies DA, then the Russia deterrence DA.
Where's the counterplan again? Sorry.
It's after A spec.
Okay. Security Russia, T, A spec, counterplan, allyship, Russia, China.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
I don't think that Alex, sorry. I'm ready.
Okay, 137. Turkey's revisionist power, the weaponized American military explores leverage for national goals that destroys alliances, splits NATO, causing cascading conflicts, stabilization, goes nuclear by drawing France and Israel. The impact scenario was dropped there. Their only defense of the scenario was one, no expansion. Yes, expansion. They dropped that Turkey is expanding into the Eastern Mediterranean. It's undeniable and will cause conflict between France and Israel. Who have an incentive to strike first because they don't want Turkish expansion. They say Turkey's not revisionist. Yes, it is revisionist. They dropped the one see Shahid evidence, which is that all of their cards about diplomacy and Turkish talks, which are all fake because Turkey is lying through their teeth, proven by purchasing the S-400 by Russia, proven by increased revisions, approved by airstriking U.S. allies, arresting American civilians. The third, which is that every impaired goes after they just have zero defense. They drop the impact scenario. And every other argument, this was the only defense of this scenario, so it straight dropped the. We're not going for the terror scenario, concede defense, the Russia advantage. We're not going to go for the miscount advantage, so we'll concede most of the defense, but we will go for the cyber scenario. The Russia spies in the U.S. nuclear F-35 fly over Turkey through the Turkish SB-400 that causes spoofing, cyber attacks across first strikes, and escalate independently imputes U.S. air superiority, which causes first strikes. The arguments about no internal link, we're not going for the miscount scenario, which answers the next few arguments. The argument about Russia moving to Belarus, we is a better scenario. We didn't read, so it doesn't apply. No new terror, not responsive. The no co-op, again, we didn't read an impact of that co-op is possible. We'll concede that the revisions from the Russia DA, which was a co-op, is not possible. And also the cyber defense does not matter. This is not in the context of our F-35 scenario. The reason why cyber isolation is uniquely likely there is because F-35s hold our nuclear weapons, so Russia was able to hack them and able to control their nuclear weapons. The US would have to first sign them because we're not going to allow them in the presence of their F-35s also don't dump because Russia can't spoof them because the S-400 is only in Turkey. T, we meet planted back and plants and military presence, so the question of self-sovereignty, anything else moves clash, kills off innovation. We also need T bases. One is the DoD card does not say troops, so one just says need to reduce bases and historical based counter is military assets. Thompson, all two definition military presence is military assets, Turkish not common activities, common not each presence activities, USC, military security jets, capable use military assets, BCC on student both back for 19 treaties, suspensive purposes for attacking state of region or allies of America's commitment. Their Thomas and their evidence is about domestic nukes and diplomacy positions of Florida, the only if you have sufficient predictable interpretations, topic that division grabs more important over limiting their return, reduces all of the agency conventional scenarios, which ignores the large swath of American military force abroad that eliminates the most valuable debates on topic, reduces the country list to 3, no ground outputs do so. The biggest form of American posture about every deterrency applies feasibility with broad line in the literature, aids back counter, interference by passive resolution is arbitrary, full aggressive, kills clash, and functional limit assault. That was above. Again, the advantage of none of these plans solve revision systems since they maintain the nukes, which allows Turkey to stronghold the alliance. They don't solve cyber, obviously meant to solve miscog, not cyber. One, diplomacy fails, malware already exists, is transmitted back to Russia, will concede Russia revisions, which they said on the DA, so they've never worked with or trust us. Two, reject uncarded counterplans, no advocate, means assume it fails, it means give us new deficits. Three, arms control keeps F-35s there, which are destabilizing against Bruce, four, station troops, does not affect cyber attacks. Five, NFU fails, not binding, Russia doesn't trust us in our scenario, is that Russia weaponized and altered use movements to first strike conditionalities, motivation for class process, argue multiple ways, codes, and education, dismissals are offense. The allies DA1, drop 20C Adeline, which postdates your Union 7s by a year, the alliance is collapsing due to S-400 purchase, Turkish airstrikes, attacks in the US, etc. The security guarantee is relevant since you trust the other independently. Splits NATO, which kills all U.S. alliances, signals weakness. Two, no alliance collapse. 19, will put it out in the alliance research, such as oversee the U.S. withdraw force, but bring Korea and others. None of these areas, the alliance is the largest. Turkish trying to products own this by no means suppresses, prevents political responsibilities, this way to the U.S. plus out. Three, no one is card about Turkey means that they don't belong to the Africa, they're linked about the perception of withdrawal. Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, thumbs. Four, weapons are not symbolic, blue, 16 weapons are no purpose, government regards liability. 12 weapons are reportable with responsible licenses, are military workers, top no purpose. Five, drop them and move them to Europe, that bolsters alliances and deterrence. Piper, 19, 100 pieces, ones are racing out the Turkey control cars, they don't require to destroy U.S. Sherman, that's possible intelligence forces, see much simpler. No, 6, no internal link, their links about alliance, soft power, the impacts about military presence, Russia DA, no neediness, a Costa says that Turkey challenges NATO creation, the Russia uses squabbling, that was on the other DA, link turn once, the Costa says that withdrawing until the shores of the West creates more cooperation with Turkey, no durable shift to Russia to features, and Turkey, we don't push the Russian defense, but these would be heavier, so nationalists are one, no desire to depend on Russian, no, the Turkey probably would somehow get wrong, get their chase, while the US, but that's not popular in my leadership program to recess, coming short. They also didn't read a link about Russia, China, which is a Chinese revisionism, is never no alignment with Russia, GPF 19 is like a combination of interest, little for Black Sea, Russia, Turkey, Turkey, distance, Crimean Turkey, freaks, recognize the peninsula over a second, it's toxic, Russia, try to keep power side, 19 minutes, the short Turkey invasion, to refer from corporate alliance, drop conventional shifts, solves one of your sciences, we compensate with missile defense systems, air bases, etc., which reliably signal stable security, guarantee and prevent Russian encouragement, Europe shifts, solves speakers, 1 expanding bird share, signal NATO contingent operations, political friction, and allies, so Russia, the US will remain credible and effective, we would better just make Russian aggression increasing nuclear deterrent. For the card increasing nuclear deterrent.
Okay, I'll start prep. Reason to drop the team.
Condo.
Okay, there's no cards. The order's gonna be the assurances, or rather the hotlines counterplan, assurances decide, the deterrence decide, the case. I'll do all of the condo stuff on the counterplan club.
Okay, the counterplan and the allyship decide, then the Russia-China decide,
Yeah, and then case,
and then case.
just top down.
Okay.
Okay, anyone not ready? One on Condo just wanted to be officially made a case for his culture impact. Hard is going to be no looking for limited purpose or recent error. 2 we have to different our sense of theory and substance. And counter, we get one Condo net, but if it's one influx Condo scaling, then it's just say from multiple perspective that we have strategy that gives it a part that is purely reactionary to and for processing Condos to think quickly and do lowering on some most real world stimulating and reasonable best for students to cope from his most valuable skill. 3 logical policy making. Winning the plan is better than the counterplan is logically from since plan can still be worse than the status quo. That outweighs 4 ideological less Condo force they have to defend their position against all angles. The two analysts clash on one consistent set of issues. Their interpretation adequate security, setting ideas and opinions from all sides of the political spectrum is crucial. That means that means you drop the arguments. It's proportional. Should they be back to substance? Condo is not a voter. We also said we didn't kick planks, so it's not abusive. The assurances the counterplan problem 1. The counterplan says 100% of the case avoids sizable benefit. The U.S. should initiate suited diplomatic measure force the use of nuclear weapons for can create a suited control and crisis management mechanism. Permanently station use to intellect the souls because nuclear weapons are never fired without consideration. If they're winning the miscalculation tyranny, the counterplan proves that state leaders will always refer to diplomacy first. That both Russia and the U.S. are part of the agreement means that there's no circumvention. They will both engage in diplomacy before nuclearing one another, which answers this whole necessity because they will not, because both states are parties to the agreement. The permutation 1, perm to go Cyprus at the 4th plank. Cyprus permanently stationing troops out of Venezuela. Also links that a substantial reduction are viewed as receptioning of troops and destroying the lines as perm to the counterplan also does not exist as patently false because the 4th plank permanently stationed troops. It doesn't result in substantial reduction and perm and the solvent deficit. 1, Turkey is not revisionist. The dissent also outweighs because at best Turkey has access to bombs that aren't even usable in a conflict. 2, terror theft does not matter because the bombs are inoperational. Their evidence concludes that Erdogan does not want to give them to Hamas or ISIS. They didn't even go for that scenario. Should not give them to your credence. 3, even if Russia trusts us and they say they're being nuked, that hotlines and diplomacy means that measures compel them to engage in talks before nuking the United States. That means that arms control provisions and crisis management mechanisms alone mean that the risk of miscalculation is low enough that neither side will assume the worst. Hotlines also don't fail. Cyber attacks exist in the realm of surveillance and reconnaissance. So hotlines that exist separately are about maintaining dialogue between countries, which means there's no warrant for how cyber attacks mean hotlines fail. There's also no warrant for Russian spying on or misinterpreting intelligence. If the U.S. forswears the use of nuclear weapons, that means there's no risk of miscalculation because Russia understands that the U.S. will not use nuclear weapons and it will not use nuclear weapons in a conflict. The assurances had 1, allied assurances turns out was case on time frame probably the case a massive departure from U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. Allies who are no longer confident the U.S.'s ability to follow through defense commitments and promises that saps U.S. credibility triggers global war and causes extinction independently. Allies prevent extension risk that turns the case. Assurance is a prior question at an impact filter. This only risk that doing the affirmative triggers global war because it's alliance and global cooperation ensure existential threats can be responded to even if geopolitical conflicts remain risky in the short term. Only the affirmative risk of stabilizing allies, including those in NATO, Europe, and East Asia. The status quo is that NATO member nations are maybe a little bit upset at Turkey's uniqueness debate. 1, its uniqueness was conceded and flows decisively negative. 1 is the evidence a reason why the U.S. has to prove to allies that it's dependable, which is uniqueness for us. It justifies keeping nuclear weapons around. 2, past withdrawal our neg arguments is what our evidence accounts for. There are reason why the U.S. needs to capitalize assurances now and reassure allies. 3, their argument is only true in response to a scenario if they won that Turkey is no longer a member of NATO. In the status quo, our argument is that even if tensions are high, NATO and the U.S. tolerate them enough to desire things like stability and assurances. The linking the Furman evidence is not responsive to our link argument. Our argument is that any reorganization, no matter how glamorously explained, is perceived by allies as accentuated. That card concludes negative because there's a reason why the U.S. only has something to lose by removing nukes. Galvanizes Turkey destroys alliances. The card does not assume things like widespread alliance structure damage brought by the affirmative. This is a conduct of country by country gradual removal of the Louis 16 evidence also concludes negative because the reason why comprehensive deterrence and alliance structures is a good thing. The thumpers and empirical examples. So empirical examples flow negative because there are a reason why allies doubt commitments in the status quo, which the dissent disagrees with. The Turkey allyship stuff, it doesn't matter because the dissent forces everyone to get along. The 1 and C, US 23 evidence and Bishop 22 evidence both prove that even if the relationship isn't perfect, NATO, the US, Turkey, and other allies cannot afford to lose one another and do what they can to make will do what they can to make it worth the link turn debate. One, no, the link turn debate that was on the deterrence side is patently false because they've conceded allies perceive any risk as existential. The internal link is about inoperability and soft power translating into hard power, which means it's definitely contextual to our scenario. They've dropped one into the analysis that reorientation is not a logical consequence of the plan. Even if both teams agree that reorientation or reallocation of nuclear weapons to other countries is a good idea, that affirmative is not one, that is a logical consequence of voting app. Weapons being symbolic also proves that there's no impact because they're not able to be reverse engineered. The case. One, the cyber attack defense. We're going for specific ones in this card that say the misperception of conflict is fundamentally impossible because they've conceded that reciprocal capabilities on both sides of the cyber on the cyber spectrum mean that even if Russia wants to cyber attack the United States, or even if Russia has the capability to do so, they will not because they believe that the U.S. will be able to retaliate. Two, our evidence about revisionism is about them grandstanding and accounts for Turkey lying through their teeth. Our evidence says that even if that is true, that Turkey is just lying about being imperialist or lying about engaging in things like revisionist behavior, which means there's no risk of Turkey War 3. They conceded that Turkey cannot reverse engineer nukes even if they wanted to. That answers all of the offense they go for in the one area because there's no one to steal nukes from. The spying on F-35, so it does not do anything. International blowback alone is sufficient to deter. They've conceded that self-restraint solves the risk. Russia will not engage in cyber attacks. They know that the U.S. reciprocal capabilities and the counterpoint solves that because it proves that if the U.S. forswears the use of nuclear weapons against Russia, that they will not engage. That Russia knows that will not engage in things like and will not engage in revisionist behavior. The miscalculation stuff we're going for miscalculation is lazy scholarship, which should also answer all the escalation scenario because it's contingent on states foregoing diplomacy in favor of escalation, even if you don't buy the counterpoint series of massive cost of Middle Eastern instability because it proves that removing bombs from instability does not end instability writ large. Beaches 22 is also contextual to Turkey being dishonest. That was about the nuclear security advantage proper. One, they have conceded that only the affirmative risk miscalculation because it necessitates U.S. intervention and can necessitates U.S. intervention. Doing the affirmative relies on the United States going into to acquire these nuclear weapons. If it's the case that doing so or any sort of U.S. intervention would risk miscalculation, then it means doing the affirmative risks Middle Eastern instability. Look, the dissent outweighs alliance structures solve the app. The link turn is false on the deterrence side. That means that the dissent outweighs.
I'll start 137. Okay, the order is the case, which is the revisions and stuff, then the counterplan, then the
I'm good, remember.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. For instance, their function draft revisions to the Turkish nations is undeniable, and we can see that the impasse overseas is trying to rated in Turkish nations in the Eastern Mediterranean causing cascading conflicts with France, Israel, and Egypt, all of which are hotspots that draw nuclear powers and escalate categorically outweighs the GA because it draws an aggregate power which outweighs unscoped seconds probability. They've done zero impact calculations. Their links are generic, done by pass with dolls in Iraq, Syria, etc. The one see with half a card in the revision scenario and drop the impact to it, so you know that there's a high enough risk of the scenario. Now their defense, their only defense was this extension was one card. One, it's not relevant. Even if they win this argument, it doesn't prove anything. The argument is not that U.S. Turkey co-op is impossible. It's that it fails now. now because Turkey thinks they have a blank check to continue expanding in the Middle East without any U.S. punishment. The plan sends the signal to Turkey that they are not an indispensable member of the alliance by punishing them, which stalls and brings them in from expansionism, which means that U.S.-Turkey cooperation is possible, but only post-plan, which is our entire argument. Second, Turkey is revisionist. They dropped every single example with no defense, purchasing the S-400 from Russia, airstriking U.S. allies, arresting American civilians, withholding Sweden from NATO. All of that is dropped from one EC, NATO 1EC, and they did not respond to any of the examples which are all clearly cited in the Twin R. Even if they win, that Turkey is not revisionist and is willing to cooperate in a vacuum. Expansionism specifically is undeniable because they've dropped that Turkey is currently expanding into places like Cyprus, Greece, etc., which will draw on France, Israel, and cause conflicts, which means that even if they're not revisionists and are working for diplomacy in other contexts, they are still expanding, which the plan is key to Iranian. This was the only defense conceded. Miscalc, quickly on this miscalc, straight turn to say only the outcast miscalc, we will concede miscalc inevitable from the serious stuff, which is that this is an offense, the counterplan, the framing issue for the entire conflict is that it solves an advantage we didn't go for, we didn't extend the miscalc there, and we're not going for the cyber scenario, which means that U.S. Russian war is not relevant. None of this was extended in the conflict in the context of Israel or France or our revisions in Minhaj, which is the only thing I have to answer is this like NFU thing, which might apply. NFU is not our scenario because our argument is that the U.S. gets drawn in because NATO gets drawn into a conflict into Cyprus because Turkey is a NATO ally, so any conflict would draw in NATO, which means that the U.S. wouldn't have to first strike, it could second strike, etc. And this is just not contextualized in the context of the advantage, so it doesn't matter. The disadvantage problem, if the link is quote any reorganization triggers and the triggers collapse, then it's empirically denied and thumped by every past withdrawal. The framing evidence is that this round has to be decided on evidence, not 2 in our spin or high schooler analytics. They have 0 link card on the CA about them that says the word Turkey. All of them are about broad withdrawal for the Middle East. If that is true, then any past withdrawal should have thumped. Second, there's no link in the context of Turkey. The one that's on the CA read no card about Turkey. They dropped that. It's empirically denied because we've withdrawn news from Greece, Britain, South Korea, and every ally in the past, and none of those caused ally proliferation or ally security concerns, which is that we would be able to reorganize it around it. Second, in Crossix and the 2NR, their response to quote Iraq, Syria, thumps was that we were able to reassure our allies and resolve that if that is possible, and we were able to rebound from withdrawals in Iraq and Afghanistan, proves that we would be able to rebound from withdrawals in Turkey. There's no reason Turkey specifically is key. Second, we will explicitly concede the argument from the counterpart and the idea that nukes are inoperational. The nukes at Turkey cannot be used, so they are not a good deterrent or a good reassurance for allies. If you're unsure about this argument, it was also carded by the 1AR Lewis evidence, which says that those nukes are not a valuable deterrent or good for our allies because they literally do nothing. They're just a signal, which is that they're not a good deterrent and can't reassure allies in any sense. So removing them does not actually create any allied fears, especially because moving them to Europe would solve. Their argument about Europe was that we don't have a card on it. The last one is the sign card, and the advantage is that we would move them to Europe as a logical consequence, would solve deterrence.
Debate.
Good debate.